it's on me. I screwed up. I think that, again, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to it since I don't spend much time on Twitter. I do know that a lot of it is being presented in ways that it wasn't said, but that's going to happen. And I do know that some of it sounds awful because I didn't say very well what I wanted to say, and so all you can do is own it, and I own it, and we'll see where it goes going forward, and there's really not much else for me to say about it.
That's Arkush today on 670 The Score in Chicago, the same station on which he said yesterday that Aaron Rodgers is the biggest jerk in the league and he's not going to vote for him for MVP. Now, I take issue with him kind of trying to subtly split hairs there and suggest that his words were taken out of context. We played 2 minutes and 19 seconds earlier today of exactly what he said. There was no misunderstanding as to what he said or why he said it. He's not going to vote for Aaron Rodgers because of things unrelated to his performance between Week 1 and Week 18 of the 2021 NFL season. He's not voting for him because of his vaccination snafu, lying about it, whatever. And also, he's not going to vote for him because of the way he conducted himself in the offseason, which should be irrelevant completely and entirely to what a guy does from the time the season starts until the season ends. It's a regular season award, not postseason, not preseason, not offseason. It's a regular season award. None of that other stuff matters. And his apology, and I listened to it live, his apology was that he spoke out, not that he believes Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be the MVP and he intends to not vote for him for MVP for reasons that are inappropriate. He's not apologizing for that, and I heard him say nothing that would suggest he's revisited his position and decided that he was wrong. He believes he was wrong simply because he said out loud the thing that he shouldn't be thinking privately.
Well, right. And, I think we get on athletes all the time for saying, oh, well, I got taken out of context. That's not really what I meant. And, we're dealing with direct quotes here, right? Like that, he was directly quoted. There's nothing to take out of context from the sense of, okay, I'm not voting for Aaron Rodgers because of lying about his vaccination status, because he's the biggest jerk in the league and all this different stuff that he said. What exactly is there to take out of context? So if we're going to get on athletes for saying crap like that, then yeah, I'm going to get on other media members for saying crap like that. It's ridiculous. We didn't take you out of context, man. Get out of here.
Here's the reality. And I think a lot of athletes and coaches learned this 10 years ago. And maybe Arkush, all due respect, never said anything anyone cared about before. But the words that we utter into a microphone don't just disappear into the ether. They are recorded, they are preserved, they can be heard again in podcast format or wherever. In the old days of talk radio, you said it and it was gone forever. And unless somebody happened to be listening to it or recording it with a cassette player or something like that, there was no proof of it. You couldn't resurrect it. Now it can be brought back and listened to all the time. So anybody who has any doubts about what Arkush said, you can find the quotes from the 670 The Score website from yesterday's show. He said what he said, and he has no apology for what he said. He just apologizes for the fact that he said it because they're not supposed to talk about not only who they're voting for, but who they're not voting for. And he made this weird kind of self-flagellation that he put the other voters in a difficult situation because they now have to talk about it. Well, that's a load of crap. There are 49 people from different news organizations. Like Shireen hasn't been in demand all day long, as far as I know, to do radio interviews and TV interviews to account for the comment made by Arkush. Just because somebody's a voter for the MVP award doesn't mean that you're going to face a bunch of tough questions and it's going to be a distraction because everyone wants to know about Arkush. That's just kind of stupid.
Yes, it is. Well, it's kind of, isn't this the athlete playbook of, I said something and now it's a distraction and now it's all this different stuff. It's just kind of funny to see it from a media member as opposed to an athlete. We're kind of used to seeing it. It's funny to me. Well,
an athlete who has a fairly significant media platform and knows how to use it is Aaron Rodgers. Before we get to what he had to say, Matt LaFleur, who likely will be the coach of the year unless Arkush refuses to vote for him too because he didn't keep Aaron Rodgers in line. I don't know. But here's Matt LaFleur, the likely coach of the year, talking about the situation earlier today.
I don't know what else could factor into it than how somebody goes out and performs on a weekly basis. And if people are going to judge people for, differences of opinion or things that they have no idea what the heck they're talking about, then I think that just kind of discredits that award. And I think we hold that award in high regard. I think most do. And I think it's an absolute privilege to be able to vote for that award and to consider anything else outside of what you see when that player's out there playing, I think is a disservice to everybody.
That's a great comment from Matt LaFleur, and that's the right way to handle it. And I hope, if nothing else, that this incident will spark a much more careful approach by the Associated Press as to the 50 people who have that privilege. Maybe more should have it to dilute the wrong-headed thinking of some voters. The more voters you have, the less likely a fringe position is going to take any real root. I mean, it's 2% of the vote on all of the AP awards. And the NFL, I asked them for comment today because they've made this, Myles, the official NFL awards that are given out at the NFL Honor Ceremony. And the league said, well, wouldn't be appropriate for us to comment because we're not responsible for that. It's kind of a cop-out. I hope behind the scenes there were some tough conversations between 345 Park Avenue and AP headquarters saying, hey, look, we're legitimizing and really making these awards even more significant by attaching the shield to them and making the official awards. You got to clean up your backyard a little bit with how you give out these votes and how you supervise the people who have the votes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Because, look, the PFWA, Pro Football Writers of America, they do the same sort of awards, right? And, every year they kind of say, look, there's no real official MVP. It's just that, hey, this is the one in the AP that's given out on NFL for NFL honors. And so, yeah, that sort of has the NFL's backing at this point, and that's the one that we all think of as the official MVP award. But I think that there is something to the fact that you maybe should have more than 50 folks around the country voting for this, right? Because when it's only 50, you don't necessarily know how much football they're actually watching, right? And so many of these opinions, I feel like, get influenced by what the big games are and all this different stuff. You don't have people necessarily watching as much football as we know our colleague Shereen Williams does. So it's all up in the air. And I think that you're kind of right. Like, if you have more voters, it would probably be a better process.
How much football are you watching? How closely do you follow the league every day of the year? How many people do you know that you talk to that have input and information that influence your thinking and have a broader body of, those things all go into it. But I have a feeling that it's like anything else. It's who you know. It's who you're chummy with. It's who didn't say something bad about someone over at the water cooler one day and somebody is holding a grudge because they're the ones who have the power to give out these awards, and nothing gets abused like hardly any power at all. All right, here's Aaron Rodgers using the power of the podium today to speak his mind about what Hub Arkush had to say on Tuesday.
I think he's a bum. I think he's an absolute bum. He doesn't know me. I don't know who he is. No one knew who he was probably until yesterday's comments. But and I listened to the comments, but to say he had his mind made up in the summertime, in the off season, that, I had zero chance of winning the MVP, in my opinion, should exclude, future votes. His problem isn't with me being a bad guy or the biggest jerk in the league, because he doesn't know me. He doesn't know anything about me. I've never met him. I've never had lunch with him. I've never had an interview with him. His problem is I'm not vaccinated. So if he wants to go on a crusade and collude and come up with an extra letter to put on the award just for this season and make it the most valuable vaccinated player, then he should do that. But he's a bum. And I'm not going to waste any time worrying about that stuff. He has no idea who I am. He's never talked to me in his life. But it's unfortunate that those sentiments. It's surprising that he would even say that, to be honest. But yeah, I knew this was possible. Talked about it on McAfee weeks ago. But crazy.
Oh, the persecution complex is strong with that one, and there's nothing like finding a witch to validate a witch hunt. Look, I got a lot to say, but we've already talked too much today. Let me say this, Myles. I don't like how Aaron Rodgers handled that, Because if he's not going to waste any time worrying about it, he sure as hell wasted plenty of time worrying about it to have that diatribe ready to go. And it's not about him not being vaccinated. That's not the issue. He lied to people about being vaccinated. And he has a way about him that is objectively, to some, unlikable. And we've seen enough from him and heard enough from him to come to a conclusion over the past 10 years that he is a jerk, if that's a conclusion that you want to come to. There's enough evidence out there to support the conclusion, Aaron Rodgers, you are a jerk. And that's okay. The question is, can you set it aside and still vote for him? I disagree with the idea that Aaron Rodgers is not going to get MVP votes because he's not vaccinated. That's not it. He's grossly oversimplifying it, and I hope people are smart enough to see through that grift.
Well, I hope so too. And the thing about it is, I think that you can really, really, really dislike what Aaron Rodgers has spewed in terms of COVID-19 misinformation and then still say, yeah, he's probably been the most valuable player who has played over the course of the regular season in the National Football League. I mean, there are clips of us, on the internet, as we've been talking about, like things don't just go away. That Friday when he was on McAfee spewing for 46 minutes COVID misinformation, I was about as angry as I've ever been in terms of my on-air broadcasting career. So I think that, but I can also still think, yeah, he's probably the most valuable player of the National Football League. And I think we've got to be able to separate the two.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I just don't like how he's going to take this one voice that is clearly wrong. That's the other thing he didn't point out. It would have been nice for him to say, I was concerned that a lot of people would come after me, that I'd have a woke mob after me. It turns out it was one guy. And when that guy opened his mouth, everybody else jumped on him and defended me. You didn't get any of that. You didn't get any appreciation from Aaron Rodgers. The other people rushed to his defense. I'm telling you. My conclusion, based upon him being in the public eye for 12 years and listening to a lot of the things he's had to say, watching how he conducts himself, everything that is about Aaron Rodgers that has come across my radar screen, I've concluded he's a jerk. But I've also concluded he's the MVP of the NFL for the 2021 season. And it's possible to compartmentalize those two things.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.